Good morning. All right, thank you everybody for being here today. This is the time where we will kick off the 2019-20 school year. We are excited to have you here today and get things kicked off. We know you have a lot to do. We know especially our school folks, have a lot of preparation for the year. You've got events coming up this week, kids coming in, parents coming in, you're getting ready for the first day. So we're only going to keep you for a couple hours today, but we think this is a great way to set the tone on the year. Reflect on last year first, so we're going to mix up the order a little bit of things. Give out some awards, recognize some people for the great work that they did during 2018-19. Set the tone for 19-20 as we begin what I consider to be one of the most pivotal years in the history of our school district. And so we are going to reflect some, but we're really going to look forward as well. I think back as I was preparing for this, I think, if I'm correct, this is my 16th administrator kickoff, 16. I think there might be a few people who have a little more than me, but not a whole lot here. Ms. Porter, you have a few more? A few more. And there's some others that have a few more. We know we've been through a lot of training over the past couple weeks. We're doing some more. We're going to talk a lot about the technical stuff in those trainings. You've heard a lot about backpack and systems and racial equity and all the things that we're working on. But today, over the next couple hours, we're really going to turn and focus on the thing that probably matters the most in whether those are successful or not. And you're going to hear words like culture and passion and all in and buy-in and believing. These are the words we're going to be talking about. So the next couple hours aren't going to be as much technical. It's more about the attitude and beliefs that we bring to school every day and how those push this work forward and determine whether they're going to be successful or not. And so as I look at this crowd right here, I would say we have a couple thousand people sitting in here right now. We are the people whether will determine whether JCPS is successful or not. Now imagine the power of us sitting in here right now, all leaders in this district. There is no more powerful group of people that will determine whether we will be successful in this pivotal year 2019-20 or whether we will just make small incremental change. And I'll say it several times here, I didn't take this position and jump in here to make small incremental change. It's to make big change. And so we'll celebrate some of that. We'll look forward, but most importantly, I'm going to ask you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit today. I'm getting out of mine a little bit, doing something a little different than I've ever done before. So before you leave, you're going to be uncomfortable. So get ready for it. So I see looks on your faces. You're going to be uncomfortable. It's all right. We can do it. It's going to show that we're all in. So first of all, talking about attitude. Principals, stand up. Let's see if my message got through. Principals, if you are a principal, stand up. I'm just seeing if the message got through, if the principals are to the front of the room. Should I call out who's in the back? Noose, I know that's not you in the back. That cannot be you in the back. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. I'm just going to call you out. So for those of you that weren't there at our principals retreat, and I would like to start this way. The things that you say matter most or matter a lot. The things that you do matter a lot more. And I know we're packed in here, so I'm not saying sit up front. But when we had our principals retreat, the message you send when you walk into a school, your body language, your attitude, the personality that you bring matters so much. And I always say in a meeting, when people just go to the back of the room and sit in the back of the room like they're not interested in being there, that is a message. That is symbolic. And so just sending out that message from here on out, if I'm going to be speaking, I would suggest when you come into any meeting, you come to the front. And I'll even pick on cabinet. We had our cabinet retreat last week down at the Louisville Leadership, and I come in and we have 3 rows of tables, and none in the front row were filled. And I said, have you all just met me? What is going on here? So just remember, that's so important. We're going to talk a lot about those type of messages that you send, attitude, The things that you say and the things that you do will support whether we are successful in our pillars and our systems and whether we're successful in 1920 with everything that we do. So that's a little bit about what we'll be doing today. First of all, I want to recognize a few people who are supporters and who have helped us put this on and helped everything that we do. So first of all, I believe we have 2 board members here with us today. So Miss Linda Duncan joined us. Stand up. Round of applause for Miss Duncan. And I'd also like to recognize our board chair, who has a few words to say. They've been so supportive in the work that we've been doing, that we've pushed forward. We've done a lot this year. We've asked them to approve a lot and support a lot, and they've done it and been there all the way with us and providing more supports than we've ever had in our schools. Our board chair, Ms. Diane Porter.
What a great way to start the morning. I had an opportunity last night to watch Kirk Franklin, so he said, beautiful people. So good morning, beautiful people. Give yourselves a round of applause. I want to talk about how important your job is, but you know that. And I would ask you as we go through this school year that you choose kindness and compassion for so many of our children. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go along. I always like to recognize my colleagues. So Ms. Duncan, would you stand again? So, I mean, there's the 2 of us here, so we're going to take up some time. So. Our board is committed to quality education for all of our students. Policies are a part of our work. I know people say that all you do is policies, and it's far more than that. Our work revolves around our students, making sure that the resources are in place, and to make sure that each school has everything they need to be successful. Last week there was the New Teacher Institute, and I had a wonderful opportunity to speak to them. So unfortunately, you're going to get some of those same words because I'm such not a morning person. So I had 3 quotes from this book, and the first quote is from Mother Teresa. And she said, "We shall never know how much a simple smile can do." So let's reinforce that. Look to your left and smile. Smile. Okay. This is a non-verbal exercise. Look to your right and smile. So the same way you felt, although a little giddy, but the same way you felt, know how that makes a student feel. When they get on the bus and the bus driver is smiling. When they go to the cafeteria and the cafeteria workers are smiling. When they see you in the hall and you are smiling. It may be the only smile they get for that day. So please keep that in mind. The second quote is from Helen Keller. "Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much." So that is why your leadership is extremely important. You make this work. We are a team, and you are a part of the team, but so is everyone else that shows up every day to do the work for our children. Our last quote, you know I don't talk long. My last quote is from Wilma Rudolph. Some of you are too young to know who she is, so you may want to Google her. But for those of us that remember, she grew up in Tennessee. She had polio at an early age. When she was 9 years old, she started to walk. Then she started to participate in basketball and track. In 1960 Olympics, she was the first woman to win 3 gold medals in one Olympics in track and field. Her quote I'm going to read to you is about her mom, but it's more than her mom. When I say mother, I want you to think in terms of you and put your name in that spot. My mother was the one who made me work, made me believe that one day it would be possible for me to walk without braces. I'm going to read that again. And I'm not going to say mother. I want you to think of your name. My was the one who made me work, made me believe that one day it would be possible for me to walk without braces. I say to you that our students come to us with many braces, not always the ones that you think about. So because of your leadership, you will believe in them. You will make it possible for them to walk one day also. And this week, Quintez Brown, who is a graduate of Manual High School, is working for the Courier Journal, had a very emotional piece in the paper about growing up and hoping to live to graduate from high school. So I would encourage you to read that. I would say to you, we are on your team, the board is. We look forward to your work. Do good every day and keep smiling. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Porter. We appreciate those great words. Also, we want to thank Bellarmine for being a great partner with us. They have given us the opportunity to not only partner in many ways with them, but to also provide us with great facilities. And so it's difficult for us to find a good spot for us to have this event. And I think it's so important. But they've stepped up. We did it last year out of necessity, but we felt that the venue was so great for us that we wanted to come back here again and make this a tradition. So thanks to Bellarmine, and I'd like to introduce the Dean of the School of Education, Elizabeth Dinkins, who has a few words for us.
I'm going to take 2 seconds to officially welcome you to Bellarmine University. Hospitality is one of our core values, and I want to actualize that for you and say, please let us know if you need anything while you're here. I also want you to know that you're the third group of Jefferson County educators and our students we've welcomed in under a week. We appreciate our partnership with the district. We value it, we honor you, and we listen to you. And with that in mind, I'm going to tell you as principals that we have 2 new programs I want you to keep in mind. We're going to be offering an MAD in Trauma-Informed Practices in Education and an MAD in STEAM Practices in Education. We know and we listened to those of you that are on our advisory boards that was development you wanted your teachers to have and your instructors to have. So we're going to do our best to meet that need. If you have other needs that you have, reach out to us, because we know that you all make Louisville stronger. You do the best work for kids, you do the best work for teachers, you do the best work for our community. Thank you for all you do, and enjoy yourselves today.
All right, so a little bit about where we've been before we go to where we're going, and this is why we're mixing up a little bit of the traditional format or agenda of how we do this. We always do the awards at the end. We're going to move it to the beginning and kind of talk about 18-19, where we've been, and then once we're past that, we're going to really talk about where we're going, which is not very different than what we worked on last year. It is just moving it from that implementation year. We've really worked to implement things, and it was a lot on the plates of all of our school-based folks last year. And now we're moving to that impact phase. And so as I was preparing for this, I was thinking 24 months ago, as I stood in front of you all, and we were over at the auditorium at Gein's, and it was the first time standing in front of you and talking about the work. And being completely candid with you, I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was completely faking it. So I hope I put on a good show. It reminds me of when I first became a teacher, when I first became an AP, and when I first became a principal. So if you are a brand new AP or principal, and inside you're thinking, I hope no one figures out I don't know what I'm doing, you had good company. So 24 months ago, there was so much uncertainty about what was going on. Here I was just being a principal. A couple months before, I had been standing in the cafeteria telling kids to get to class and doing all that stuff that I miss a lot, that fun stuff. And you miss it too, school folks, when you're out of schools and you're over at what I call the Death Star Van Hoos. So I got it programmed on my car. Every time I pull into the parking lot, the Darth Vader music starts. I try to get out of there as much as I can. I'm just kidding, Van Hoos people. It's all right. Nothing personal, nothing about you. But I do like being around kids. But I'd just been there for a couple of months before, and now, you know, I was standing in front of you with so much uncertainty. You know, was I going to do this? You know, were all the buildings going to catch on fire on the first day of school? Were we going to get buses home? We got this eclipse thing coming. Our kids' eyeballs going to burn out of their heads. I don't know what to do about this. It's like 2 weeks into it. And I'm like laying in bed at night thinking like we're going to have school, but kids are going to look at the sun and their faces are going to melt, like the Indiana Jones thing. Like I thought that was going to happen. And so then, you know, I'm applying for the job and, you know, we're just trying to get through the year without much focus. We're trying to move things forward. We talked a lot about culture and climate, but we didn't have a whole lot of substance. And through all those challenges of the first year, the state takeover, all of those things, we moved into 18-19 last year. And I think about all the things that we asked you to do. And so I want to be clear on this. We have school-based people and we have central office people. And if you are in central office, you own this work as much as people in the schools. Your support, your attitude, your buy-in, your belief, and your passion exudes out to the schools. And so everybody in this room has as much invested in the success of what we were implementing last year and moving forward. Everyone equally in here. And so once again, we have the power here of 2,000 people in this room to make this go or not make this go. And make us what I'll continue to say is a 60 minutes moment or just nice incremental small change that we can celebrate, you know, after 3 or 4 years until they decide it's time for me to go and somebody else comes in and they can come talk about something different. And so I think about last year and the challenges that we faced, a whole lot of challenges. A year ago right now, I was standing in front of you, same spot, introducing this stuff to you. Introducing the backpack. No one knew what we were going to do. We had just passed the racial equity policy. It was right at that time in the evening we were going into executive session to figure out how are we going to negotiate with KDE to come up with a settlement. So we didn't even know if that was going to happen. We could have been facing, you know, going to court and hearing and all of that stuff throughout the course of the year. And so facing all of that stuff and asking you to do this new stuff, and I know it was hard. We threw at you backpack. We threw at you racial equity plans. We threw at you 6 systems. But I have to look back and say, think about some of the successes that we had. There was a lot of skepticism. Could we do this around by 156 schools? 100,000 students. So we got a long way to go. I don't want to wave the flag like victory, but I do want to say this. At the end of the year, we had over 1 million artifacts of learning in our backpacks, over 1 million. We had nearly 21,000 students defend their readiness for the next step, 5th to 6th, 8th to 9th, 12th to college or career. Nearly 21,000. That's incredible work, just that right there. I say at no other time that I can remember in our district have we had an intentional focus that is across 156 schools. We might have had something at elementary, something at middle, something at high, but at no time have we taken a swing at something this big at all 156 schools. That's a huge success. We asked all of you to do that difficult work around racial equity, which is tough. I know it is. It's hard. Looking at data and saying, where do we have disproportionality and achievement gaps? And the only way that we can address that is in that organic way at the school level, at the district office, where we look at our practices and are committed to make changes and not doing it in a compliant manner. That's difficult, tough work. I think about the corrective action plan. We're asking you to do a lot of that is compliant stuff, but what I've come to learn is we've done things a certain way for a long time in JCPS. And now we're asked to do it differently. And we got to continue to work on that. But as we review the corrective action plan, I think back of, wow, I mean, we've really done a whole lot of work and asked you to do things differently at every level. I think about our accreditation visit and how successful that was. They identified issues. You have pockets of excellence in schools and classrooms, and we've got to get better at systems and move from implementation to impact. But when we go back and review our instruction based on prior visits, we're better than we've ever been, at least since that we can look at those reviews. And they talked about, first time ever we hear them talking about systems, same language, same vocabulary. There's a culture of hope in the district. So that's extremely positive, that work around that accreditation. And we got that in this difficult time, for the first time ever, where we haven't had to do additional stuff afterwards to make sure we get that. So that's positive. They gave us some good feedback on where we have to go. And where we are now, I honestly believe we've laid the foundation. We've laid the foundation of the work. We all know what it's going to take, but what it's really going to take is incredible buy-in, passion, great culture. These are going to be the things that determine whether we're successful or not. And that's what we will talk about today as we move into 1920. So as I was thinking about over the past few months preparing for this kickoff, I thought, I wanted somebody else to talk. That, I'm doing a lot of the talking all the time, and you'll hear some from me today, but I wanted this to be a little different, where it's not all me talking like it's been the past couple years, but having somebody else talk and give the why, so it's just not coming from the superintendent. So we can really see the why as we kick off the school year and understand the importance, the responsibility, and the honor that you have to change lives every day. And I know we say that a lot. We really do. We say that a lot. We're going to change lives. But it almost becomes a cliche. But what you'll hear today is your interactions with kids every single day. One interaction has the chance to change a life, or it can pass you by. And I wanted you to hear firsthand how important that is. That if you don't come every day with passion and fire, you might be passing on an opportunity to change a kid's life. It's a monumental responsibility, but what an honor that is. Not a lot of people have that in their day-to-day life. It's difficult and hard. Being an administrator in a school is one of the most difficult jobs there could possibly be. The responsibility is enormous. For those that aren't in school, we're all supporting that work. What a responsibility that is. And to not come with passion and fire every day is passing up on that opportunity. I've been fortunate in my career that every time I have felt like that fire or that passion is diminishing a little bit, that something happens, something sparks, and gives me the why on why I should be doing this work. So I'll go back to 2014. This was our original plan for today. In July of 2014, I had been the principal at J-Town High School for 7 years. And I was in my early 40s and thinking about, is this what I'm going to do the rest of my career? You got about 10 years left. Is this what I'm going to do the rest of my career? Am I going to be the principal? Am I going to do something else? Am I going to be at the district level? What is it going to be? And at 2 times during that year, I applied for assistant superintendent positions. And I didn't get either one of them. And the last one I didn't get was at the end of June. And just being candid, I didn't like how the process went or how I was told or anything about that. So I left that process. It was over the July 4th weekend, very negative about the work I was doing. And I thought, I don't know how with this attitude I have, I'm going to go back in about 2 or 3 weeks and have a retreat with the J-Town faculty and talk about this type of energy and fire with the attitude that I currently have. And I didn't know how that was going to change. And about a week later, there was a conference I was going to. It was back when we had the GE grant. And we were chosen at J-Town to send a couple of people. And Todd Stockwell and I went down to the GE conference. And I'll be honest, I got on that plane and I had a really negative attitude. And it was usually I don't get a lot out of conferences. You all know how we do at conferences sometimes. Hopefully I'll stay in a session for 15 minutes and realize I don't like this, and I'll get up and go somewhere else. And I play the musical chairs of the sessions inside of a conference and end up after 2 hours thinking I didn't get a lot out of it. But the opening session, I sat down and I got to hear a gentleman named Steve Pemberton talk. And he talked about how he was a foster child growing up, moving from home to home, and how he was abused. And I mean, incredible stories of abuse that he went through as a child. And being really not being successful in school. His foster parents at one time wouldn't even let him have books because they didn't want him to learn to read. Yet there was a teacher who lived 2 doors down from this house who knew that and snuck books to him because he wanted to read. And so he would go hide out back in the woods where this teacher from 2 doors down would leave books for him to read. And after several years this went on, he was still homeless, moved from house to house, still facing abuse, until one day a teacher said enough and said, "You can come live with me." And so he talked about the impact of teachers, and not just the monumental stuff like I took a child in to live with me, but he talked about the day-to-day interactions that adults in a school building have with kids and how that caused him to have hope and keep going because of the teachers and the administrators in his school, and how that gave him hope to keep going. Eventually, he went on to college, got his degree, and when he was speaking to us, he was the chief equity officer of Walgreens. And it's such a powerful story. He wrote a book called A Chance in the World. I would highly recommend you to read it. But it is the why. It is the why we can't go to school with a bad attitude, not coming with passion and fire every day. And so I wanted Steve to come speak to you and hear the same thing that I did going into this year. He agreed. We had it set up. Unfortunately, he's announcing his run for Senate this week. So he cannot be here today. Well, I guess he still decided to do that because he is announcing his candidacy for Senate. So imagine this young boy who was abused, foster parents, wasn't able to have books, teachers saved him, and now he's running for Senate. And so we kind of got back together. And as I said, that changed my perspective, and I just said, all right, quit your crying, quit your whining. You're a principal of a large high school in Jefferson. You have incredible responsibility, but you have incredible honor. You should be proud and happy of the job you have. And I came back with the fire that I needed to have. And it changed everything for me. It changed everything. And so this year, although we couldn't have Steve come, this year, it's a challenging job. I'll be honest, this job's pretty crappy that I have. It's a pretty crappy job. You can get down a lot. You can get down a lot. And I was at a time this year where I was kind of down, moaning and groaning about my job and this, why am I doing this? And I was fortunate that I've got all these visits to do, and one of them is a place called Volunteers of America. Many of you might know it. And I had to stop by, and it was a setup for a visit for me to stop by and see the work that Volunteers of America do. And I walked in and took a tour, and it was fantastic. It was. They do great work for homeless families in our communities. And they said there, but you've got to wait. You've got to wait a minute. We've got a young man who wants to come by and meet you. I said, oh, that's great. Where is he? He's coming in from Bowling Green. He's driving up from Bowling Green to meet you. And I said, someone's driving up from Bowling Green to meet you? To meet me? Like, why? And it was one of the best things that happened to me this year. This young man named Marcus Stubbs, and I'm not going to tell you much about him right now because he's going to tell you his story. But when he came in and just told me about his background, where he's been and where he's going, I had that same feeling. Quit your crying, quit your moaning, look in the mirror and check yourself, and know that the work you are doing is impacting a young man like Marcus Stubbs. And I walked out of there and said, I've got to share that story. And you might have heard it. I've shared it 5 or 6 times in talks that I've given since then. And the impact that we have as educators on the young men and women who come to our schools every single day. This is a great responsibility we have. Every day, you either meet that and say, I'm going to change a kid's life, or you come in and go through the motions. And imagine what that's going to do if the faculty and staff that was around Marcus 5 or 6 years ago had gone through the motions. And so I asked Marcus to come share his story with us today, because I think it is definitely the why of what we do. So I'm going to let him tell the rest. I'll wrap it up at the end. We've got some folks here that made a difference in his life as well. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Marcus Stubbs.
Good morning. I'd like to get myself riled up a little bit more too. So good morning. Good morning. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. As I was walking in, I got to see my team, Coach O'Neill, Mr. Thomas, and Principal Zykes. They're family to me, and I thank them for coming, and thank you all for coming this morning too as well. I was going to be on my way up the stairs too when I came in, like just 2 or 3 minutes a little bit late, so I was feeling Coach O'Neill to give me suicides in just a bit. So I thank you, Coach O'Neill, for not allowing me to do that. But anyway, it's good to be here, and I really do appreciate it. And I'm just going to talk to you just a little bit before you today. I won't be long, but I'll just share a few moments of my journey here and why I'm very grateful to be a product of JCPS. Some of my earliest memories from childhood are from Klondike Elementary School. I remember sitting in the cafeteria and sharing ideas with my friends at the lunch table because school was a safe place for me. It was a safe place for me to share ideas. It was a place I could believe. It was a place that I truly adored. Little did I know it was going to be a cornerstone of hope for me. I had a pretty typical childhood with my mom and my siblings. I was a happy child. As you can see right here, I guess your left, right here at the bottom corner, I was angling down, looking as if I'm mean. And it's not the case. It was just an artistic style of a photographer wanting us to do a little angle. So I promise I was still a happy child, but it was just me angling. That was the artistic expression of the photographer, I promise you. All right. It was 5 of us, and I never knew anything was wrong. After Klondike Elementary, I went on to Moore and Highland for middle school. I'm not going to lie, middle school was rough. But I had a great teacher that once told me, "You are different. You are something special." I had to recognize that, and she recognized that I showed respect, and she told me that I was on the right path to do the right thing. Her words stayed with me. They were still with me to this day. When I got to high school, it was her words that I fell back on, and she guided me through every crossroad that I had during that middle school, and I was very, very grateful. I went to high school first at Seneca, and then my last 3 years at Wagner High School. I had an experience there and great teachers who taught me about compassion and how to be a great citizen. I had great teachers like Mr. Thomas who showed me what was possible to give to others. And as you can see displayed on this screen, we had a chance to go out into our community and engage. And I was really grateful for that because we got to tell people, hey, we see you and we care. And that we gave them get well cards. And so that was one of those powerful moments to say, hey, we can step out of the 4 corners of the institution and make an impact. So I'm really grateful for that moment. For a while, things were going well at Wagner. I had friends, I played basketball, and I loved playing with my team. That's my guys right there. But as you can see, we didn't want Coach O'Neill in there because it was only one pitcher, and that was it. We had to get back to it. But as you can see, I loved my team, though. I loved my team. But during my senior year, I may seem like a regular kid, but I had hardships throughout my years in high school. One day, my mom sat all of us down and told us something would change. She said we were getting evicted from our apartment, and we had nowhere else to go. We were going to be homeless. I was homeless. You see, my single mom with 4 kids had financial hardships in the past, but we never knew. Sometimes we move and stay at a friend's house, but we didn't think anything of it. Until the last time she told us we'd moved to our next destination, it was truly unknown. I was hurt, scared, and angry. I was a teenager, so I didn't tell anyone how I was actually feeling. Instead, I wanted to fix it. A friend referred my mom to a homeless shelter at Volunteers of America, and that's where we lived. I was determined to be a provider and help my family get out of this situation. I would apply to get jobs, but I never wanted to put my address down. Just the fear of not knowing where else we were going to be going, it was hard for me to connect with these jobs and employment. I didn't know how long we were going to stay there. I felt very unstable. In an effort to try and find a solution to my situation, I thought about selling drugs. I saw other people do it, and I thought it would help save my family. But I just knew that it wasn't going to be easy, and I saw the people who were selling drugs that didn't really have no respect for themselves and that they were going to jail at the time, and I just didn't want to end up in that same predicament. So I made a choice. I remember my teacher's word from Highland Middle School: "You are different. You are something special." You are different. You are something special. I had to find another solution. I didn't find it right away. I was silently struggling in school. I tried to put on a good face, and I didn't tell anyone about my circumstance. If I pulled back the curtain and revealed the truth, would anyone support me? Would anyone care? Would anyone believe in me? I didn't want to run the risk of pouring my heart out and getting back in return, and getting nothing back in return. I maintained the illusion that nothing was wrong. I still played basketball and other activities. My basketball coach, Brian O'Neill, would give me a ride after practice, but I would have him drop me a few blocks away just so he would know that I wasn't living in the shelter. It was still just the pride in me not to allow him to know that something was going on in my life. I wanted to stay strong not only for myself, but for my family. During the holiday season, Coach O'Neill was taking a course at Bellarmine University. He volunteered with his colleagues to help homeless families that year. Coach O'Neill showed up at Volunteers of America one weekend, and I came face to face with him. So I had to immediately react and say, "Oh yeah, I'm volunteering here too. How are you doing? What's going on?" But then as I just looked him in the face, I was like, I can't lie. I just can't. I have to tell him what's going on and how we are honestly doing, truthfully. It took a little bit of seconds, but I decided that the truth mattered. But I felt a weight over me. The truth was out. The illusion had disappeared. Coach O'Neill still stood right by my side, eager, and listened, as he always did. He was still by my side, eager to listen and see anything that if I need any help on anything, literally anything, he was there for me. The next week, I was called into the counselor's office at school. I knew what was happening. Coach O'Neill had told the staff at Wagner, and I was okay with it. I told my teacher, Mr. Thomas, and the counselor, Ms. King, about the situation I was in, that it wasn't good. I was so worried about what their response would be, but I felt more supported and cared for by the staff at Wagner High School than I ever thought possible. I felt safe. School was once again a place to be safe in again. It was a safe place, and I knew it. Mr. Thomas and Ms. King introduced me to options beyond high school. They showed you what was possible. They believed in me. They helped with college applications, financial aid options, and scholarship options. It was in Ms. King's office I saw a brochure about the study abroad program in San Jose, Costa Rica at Western Kentucky University. My father was not involved in my life, but he was born in San Jose, Costa Rica. So you can only imagine how big of a deal that was to me, because I wanted to know a little bit about my history and know a little bit more about myself, where I came from and where I can go. By the end of high school, my mom had a new job and was able to get a place of her own. I graduated at Wagner High School with a 3.0 GPA that semester. I was co-Mr. Wagner there, and I was homecoming king. Thank you. Mr. Thomas, Ms. King, and Coach O'Neill were there for me when they could have given up. They believed in me, and that created opportunities I never saw coming. They cheered me on as I headed off to Western Kentucky University, home of the Hilltoppers. Yeah, I see. When I go to college, I was still overcoming my past. Being homeless still lingered with me. I wanted to know who I was and how did I fit into this world. I was able to go to San Jose, Costa Rica, and study. I traveled to 2 other countries, Trinidad and Tobago and South Africa. That's when I discovered I wanted to learn more, and it was like my high school teachers were with me again and encouraged me to take a step further. I continued on in grad school at Western, and I studied student affairs and higher education. I'm happy to report I had a 3.6 GPA, and even happier to report that I believed in myself again. I had new inspiration along the way. Yes, you can. Yeah. Shaquille Johnson and Amari Hazelwood worked in the Student Support Services program at Western Kentucky University and helped me with financial needs and, college-related, any type of issues that you would first experience when you're a first-generation student. And so they were very much a great inspiration. Amari Hazelwood was studying to get her PhD in Education and Social Change here at this university. And after conversations and research, we both talked about this program that would be best for me. And it was best for me. So I applied here at Bellarmine University in the PhD program in Education and Social Change, and I'm proud to say that I will start this fall to start my courses. That's what I want to do. I want to be a change agent. When teachers see kids like me, I want them to say, I believe in you. Mr. Thomas, Coach O'Neill, and Ms. King all believed in me. The question is, do you believe in any of your students? Can you tell them and can you look them in the eye, I believe in you? I challenge you to believe in all students in your school. And we may not tell you, we will try to hide it, but we need you. We need you to believe. Believe in all the possible things in us. Believe when everyone else writes us off. Mr. Thomas and Coach O'Neill and Ms. King were difference makers. They enhanced my trajectory in life, and you can do the same. I'm glad today to have here with me and my Principal Zykes here. Hey, Ms. Zykes, can you please come up here today? Can you come? She's very awesome. That's why I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. I got 3 more lines. I'll be there. This is how much they mean to me, guys, honestly. Thank you for being there. Thank you for understanding. And thank you for believing. Thank you.
Wow, that was powerful. Marcus, I am so proud of you. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Andrew Thomas, and I'm the Freshman Academy Counselor at Wagner High School. Marcus Stubbs, words that describe him: passionate, resilient, empathetic, strong, and driven. You, sir, have overcome many obstacles while always maintaining a positive outlook in life. It's people like you that make this world a better place. It's been a great honor to be a part of your journey. Whether to name a few, it was all the college visits we went on, preparing for and going to and from job interviews, or simply just being that listening ear and support when tough times arose. That is why it's so important we as educators continue to provide those wraparound services, systems, and initiatives such as our district-wide backpack, Academies of Louisville, racial equity, and comprehensive school counseling programs that support a student's academic, personal, social, and career development that bridge those transitions, whether that transition be from elementary to middle, middle to high, or high school to post-secondary and career. So our students thrive and have those skill sets to succeed and ultimately become responsible citizens in our society. Marcus, you give hope, you give meaning, and you give purpose to our work as leaders in JCPS. Thank you, and I'm so proud of the young man you've become. The sky's the limit for you, my friend, and I look forward to witnessing all the continued success your future beholds.
How about Marcus Stubbs? I mean, if that kid doesn't get you fired up for this school year, I don't know what will, right? So thanks for having me today. I'm Brian O'Neill. I'm a teacher and the head basketball coach at Wagner High School. You know, I wasn't always in teaching. I'm a JCPS product. I went to Ballard High School, went on to the University of Tennessee where I was a manager, and then WKU where I was a graduate assistant. After those 3 years, I was a little burnt out on coaching. So I took a real job and got out. And, you know, I was living in Chicago, decided to move back to Louisville because I was like, man, something just, it doesn't feel right. Like, I'm not fulfilled. And so I moved back here. I got a job at Western Middle School, long-term sub job, thanks to Austin Elaine. I started the MAT program here at Bellarmine. Was fortunate enough to get on basketball staff at Ballard. And after that year, Dr. DeFerrari gave me an opportunity to be the head coach at Wagner. That was Marcus's senior year. And for the first time, it hit me. That void that I had was fulfilled again. And it's because of kids like Marcus Stubbs. I got the opportunity to make an impact every single day. I got to change lives. And I got to tell you, I was sitting in that chair, and I'm just beaming with pride that I get to be a part of Marcus Stubbs' story. So thank you for having me today. Let's have a fantastic school year. I got to say this, go Wagner. Yeah.
I'm going to finish up quickly. Of course, I'm proud of all three of them. And while we've spoken a lot about Marcus, who's amazing, and he's going to do great things, and I believe he will be a positive change agent, I want to talk a little bit about the adults. If you think about this, these two gentlemen were in their first year serving Wagner. It was Brian's first job as a head coach. It was Andrew's first opportunity to be part of the LEAP program. At that time, he was our LEAP person. And I will tell you, that was our first year of school turnaround at Wagner. So we had just finished a restaffing, trying to convince a person like Brian to come on to staff there at a school that was on the serious struggle bus, all the programs, including basketball, every sport, every academic program, and a lot of change, and a lot of staff that weren't entirely on board initially. And through all of that, I want to encourage you to know that whether it's your roughest year, you're an AIS school, you're whatever, you can hire amazing people, you can build amazing leaders, and you can have amazing members of your team that are new and haven't been there for a long time and have the right attitude every day. I will tell you, these people had smiles on their face every day because that's the way we did things. And I so encourage you to never feel discouraged about having to hire new staff. These, not only were they young, but they were new, and they're amazing. And so know that we can hire people that are super experienced. We can also hire alt-certs and newly certified people, and they can be amazing leaders too. So don't ever feel like you're not in a situation to have amazing people join your team. And I just could not be more thrilled to be part of all three of their lives. So thank you so much. And Marcus, good luck.
Thanks to all of you for what you've done. I had to share Marcus's story with everybody because it was so meaningful, and just how it happened. He wasn't going to be speaking until Steve Pemberton was not able to join us, and I remember calling him on the phone about 4 or 5 weeks ago and talking to him and seeing if it was possible and how he would do. So great young man, incredible story, and it just goes to show you the power of what we do every single day. Now imagine if that staff, faculty at Wagner, that day when they found out. I mean, it could be a bad day. I'm having a bad day. Other kids are misbehaving. I don't feel like being here. What if they weren't at school that day? Would things have turned out differently for Marcus? And the challenge I have for you, clearly Marcus is a very intelligent young man with a lot of personality and charisma. Nice kid. But we see 100,000 kids a day. And every single day, we have the opportunity to change a life. For those in central office, every single day that you interact with someone at a school is the opportunity to build them up or make that culture more negative as a result of your interaction. Imagine the responsibility of the people in this room. We define the culture in this room, the 2,000 people that are here. It's an incredible responsibility to know that a kid like Marcus Stubbs made it and is now in a PhD program at Bellarmine, and I'm confident is going to be a part of changing the world. Or it could go the other way with each and every interaction that we have with our kids. And that's why what we're talking about today is so important. Culture, belief, attitude, buy-in. It is what you control. Some of the other stuff we don't control. This is what we can control. Another, probably my best day of the year. A year ago, I stood in front of you and asked you, as we finished up, if you would contribute to a brand new administrator/employee scholarship fund. I didn't know how it would go. You know, I thought maybe we'd get $10,000 or $12,000 and have the opportunity to give away some money at the end of the year. But you all stepped up and pleasantly surprised, overjoyed with the fact that by the end of the year we had about $65,000 that were given to you all for these kids. And so I got to be the guy who walked around like Ed McMahon with the big checks all day. So we showed up one morning, it was in May. We had a van, a team of us were driving around. We were all over the county. And what better day could it be? Of all the days that I have that aren't very fun, this was a great one. I got to get in this van and we started out at Eastern High School and drove all around the county to about 6 or 7 different locations. Just walked in the school and got to go in classrooms and hand checks, these big checks to kids. We went through the interview. We didn't know how we were going to do this. Pam Royster helped us with the process, but we had about 35 applicants, narrowed it down to 12. What we were looking for were kids like Marcus, that it was going to make a difference. It's going to make a big difference to whether they go to college or not, whether they're successful or not. So they had to apply, but I said, I want more. I want more from this. I want to hear their stories. I just don't want it on paper. And so we made these poor kids come into the superintendent's cabinet room and sit with about 4 or 5, 6 of us, and we interviewed them. And that was a great day. Just hearing these stories, you would be, I mean, I know you all know this, but until you hear the stories, the entire story. And so we would ask kids, tell us about your school experience, where you've been. We were looking for kids who have been in JCPS for a long time. Tell us about some hardships in your life. I mean, it was hard not to choke up when you hear what our kids go through every single day. I mean, I was hearing, you know, homeless and just coming to the country, not knowing where their next meal was going to be. And each and every one of them talked about a teacher, an administrator, someone at the school who changed their life. And so all of us in that room, we'd leave all choked up. And then we picked about 10 kids that we were going to go give a check to that was going to make a difference. So we wanted to know, what do you need to be successful? And we walked around and gave this check so that it bridged that gap between what they had in keys, scholarship, whatever it might be. What are you going to need to get through 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And there were just some incredible stories. So I thank you so much for giving me the best day I had of the entire year. But we also want to challenge you again to do the same thing. Build it, grow it, make it even better this year so we can impact more lives. To all of you who gave, it is making a difference. You wouldn't believe the emotion on these kids' faces, and I know some of that video captured it, but it was such a great day. So, as you can see up here, these are the ways that you can give for the coming year. I think we have about $10,000 that is still in there, but I'm going to hit you up again. So if you can see, you can sign up through payroll deduction, which is what I do, and I know a lot of you would like to do. So you can go to the website, click on the donate. Once you get to the scholarship site, click the donate again, and then you can fill out to have that taken out of your pay stub every other week. Or right now, you can pull out your cell phone, and usually I wouldn't want people on their cell phones when I'm talking, but right now, if you would like to, or you can do it later, and I'm sure we'll have this information, Renee, correct, somewhere so that they can see the text too. So we've added this one, so text JCPS 243-725, click on the link, enter information if you wanted to give a one-time donation for the scholarship fund. I would like to see it grow and get better. I would love for us to be, we struggled with this whole thing. Do we go give one person $40,000 and say you've everything, or do we give it to multiple people? We wanted it to make an impact on kids. So I didn't want to go around and just give $500 checks, not saying that's not impactful, but we did want it to be like the young lady at Shawnee who's been homeless since last Christmas. And she had the librarian at Shawnee actually take her in and say, you can come live with me and my family until you graduate. And she works 3 jobs. And here we were able to go and give her $10,000 so that she could pay for all 4 years of Kentucky State University. It makes a huge difference in a kid's life. So please make sure to give what you think you can't give, where you can give, payroll deduction, or that one time, anything that you can give will be great. We also, at our State of the District address in February, continue to ask our community partners, business partners to be a part of this as well and give money so that we can change kids' lives through that financial means. So thank you very much. So what we'll be talking about the rest of the day, and we will have you out of here by 10 o'clock. I'm committed to having you out by 10 o'clock. So right on the nose for 2 hours. So keep me, Amy, you got to keep me letting me know when it gets close to 10 o'clock. So I'm going to keep it shorter than I usually would today. But I do want to finish up talking a little bit about the why. So we talk a lot about the pillars. We talk about systems. We know the technical aspect of all of those things of implementation. And all too often what we talk about is only the technical part of what we do. And so that right there, what I showed you, giving money for kids makes a huge difference. There is no doubt about it. But the culture that we bring to school every single day, the culture that we bring, the culture that we create, is the difference maker for kids like Marcus Stubbs and the other 100,000 kids that we have in our schools. So yeah, that money makes that check I give them makes a huge difference. Having someone say, come live with me while you're homeless makes a huge difference. Wrapping your arms around and coming together makes a huge difference. But I even think more importantly than that is the attitude that we bring every single day to our schools. The attitude when you wake up every single morning, and we know teaching, being an administrator, supporting schools, it's tough, hard work. It's tough, hard work. And I'll say this, I believe this, and I've told this story. Some of you are going to hear some of the same stuff that I've been on the tour here recently around to different role groups, so you're going to hear some of this stuff again, but I think it's that important that we talk about it. I don't think kids have changed. I really don't think kids have changed. I remember back in 1997, my first year as a teacher, and some of the challenges we went through there and some of the things that were happening. I don't think kids have changed. But I do think the world has become more complex and complicated. And I also believe our kids are coming to us with more trauma in more need than we've ever had before. And I just think about how important the role that we have in this work is. And a young man like Marcus Stubbs, what we bring to school every single day as administrators, the attitude that we bring defines culture. Go back one. So, 2 years ago, I stood in front of you and I shared a video. For those of you that were here, you remember. It was about a doctor. And it was a minor league hockey game. Family was at the game. This was one of these Sports Center highlight things they were doing. It's about a 10-minute video about a hockey player who went into cardiac arrest on the ice, if you recall. And so there he is laying on the ice, and EMS comes out, personnel from the game come out. He's not breathing, he has no heartbeat. And they start CPR right there on the ice in front of his mother. Now imagine that. Many of you, most of you are probably parents here. Imagine seeing that. And so in the process of giving him CPR, moving him off the ice, putting him in the ambulance, getting him to the hospital in Arizona, lasts over 60 minutes. And now it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And fortunately, they have one of the best cardiac surgeons in the United States at this hospital named Dr. Zane Calpe. And so we all saw this video of this doctor who came in and saw the mother in the lobby and says, "My name is Dr. Zane Calpe. I love my job, and I'm really, really good at it." And so that kind of took hold over that first year, and I still even hear people talk about it today. But I think the incredible thing about it, which, I'll let you know, he saved, if you weren't there, obviously came in, saved a hockey player, had to amputate as a result, but saved his life. And then at the end, you're hearing from the hockey player himself. And what a powerful story that was. And we all use that line for a while, "I love my job and I'm really, really good at it." But you know what the power of that was? The power of that was not that he just came in and said it. The power of it was that it's 10 o'clock at night. And he was probably at home. He was probably on call. But my guess is he wanted to go to bed. My guess is he didn't want to come in and get in and go through hours of surgery. I'm just assuming here. Maybe he didn't feel well. Maybe he was tired. But when he got that call and drove to the hospital, however long that drive might be, he made a decision in his head that the responsibility I have is to come in with that positive attitude. He did not have to say that to the mother. He didn't have to say anything. There are plenty of surgeons across America who have technical expertise, who would have probably walked in a side door, gone to the operating room, put on the scrubs and said, "Let's do it. Let me get this done. I'll do it, and I'll do my job the way I'm supposed to do it, but I'm not going to have that fire and enthusiasm and passion." If everybody had it, it wouldn't have been a story. But the story is the fact that this doctor came in, and it wasn't just his words. It was the fact that he came in with passion for what he did and decided to walk through and tell that mother that. So we have to set aside the words. We have to set aside the words of, "I love my job and I'm really good at it," because we can all say, "I love my job." But the way you prove whether you love your job is how you walk in the front door of that school or that central office every single day. How you do that, what you bring, will determine whether we are successful in the work that we are doing or not. And so culture is so important. And I've talked about a lot, you've heard me say culture over and over again the past 2 years. Over and over again. Every single person in this room can make a difference in the culture. It can either be positive or it can be negative. What you bring to school every single day matters. Whether you are like Dr. Zane Calpe and walk in your school with the attitude that he had at 10 o'clock at night 5 or 6 years ago, and not just muttered some words, "I love my job," but obviously believed it. Because it's so important for impacting a kid like Marcus Stubbs. And I can't say enough, when we think about athletics, and I know I talk about athletics all the time, whether it's football or basketball, whatever sport, people run the same offenses and they run the same defenses. Somebody somehow can take an offense like the New England Patriots have and can run it it's not the offense that's special. They can do the technical work. But for some reason, some coaches and some teams are successful with that and others are not. And I wonder why that is. We're running the exact same offense. We're running the exact same defense. We have the same game plan. Why is one team successful and one team not? And I'll tell you what it comes down to. The culture of that team and how that culture is built. And so I can ask you, implement the backpack. And everybody in here can implement the backpack. I can do it. I'll implement it for you. We'll do whatever Pollio wants and whatever Joe Lefford wants and whatever assistants, I will implement it. And yeah, you want us to have a racial equity plan, we'll do that. You can do that. What else you want us to do? You want us to do systems? We can do systems. For some reason, some schools get it done and they flourish as a result of it. And the same thing could be happening at another school, and for some reason it never takes off. And we have to ask why. And simply put, it's that word right there. It's the culture that our leaders build in schools that supports that work. So I could come tell you, let's put up backpack and here's what I expect you to do. And here's what I expect you to work on. And talk about, I could do all of that for you here right now. But today it's about culture. If we do not build that culture, and I'm going to follow with a few other words, then we will not be successful at what we do. I cannot just say, here's a blueprint, school leaders, implement this. And you go say, 10-4, I've said all along, it's not like flying a plane. There is a very clear blueprint to flying a plane. It is not about culture when you fly a plane. It's not. This is exactly what you do when this happens. We cannot do that at schools. We can tell you, here is the backpack, here are the plans we want you to work on, here is racial equity, here is the systems that we expect. We either implement it or we don't, but the way it'll be successful is the culture that we build in our schools to support that. That will determine whether it's successful. So last year we asked you to implement these. I stood up here and talked about each one. We implemented across 156 schools. 7,000 teachers. That's impressive in itself. But if we are going to move from implementation to impact, it is going to require culture and some of these other words that I'm about to talk about that are so important. I want to reiterate, this is not just about schools alone. Raise your hand if you are central office. The work that you do is so important to the success of our schools, and the attitude and culture that you bring to support our schools is as critical as the work that our schools do. And so I'm going to ask for some little bit of participation here. The uncomfortable part of this is not going to be till the end of the program. So if you forgot I said that, it's coming. Taking a big risk here, by the way. This is not me. I am not like this. But I decided I'm going to be all in. I got to do something a little different, right? So elementary school people will love it, high school people will hate it. I know. I've come to learn that. You elementary school people are a little different. You high school people are very surly people. And this is a high school person coming from, so I'm doing it a little different. So, as I ask you a few questions at the end of this, I want thumbs up if you agree with me on this. As you look around this room of an approximate 2,000 people we have here, do you believe? Take everybody else out of it. We have about 15,000 other employees in this district. Do you believe that the 2,000 people in this room have the ability to determine whether we have a positive culture in JCPS or not? The people in this room alone. Thumbs up if you agree with that. Now, I'm going to ask questions. If you're going to be all in, everybody's got to do either up or down. You can do down if you want, but everybody's got to participate, even the people in the back. All right, let me ask again. Do you believe the people in this facility alone? Now think about this. Nobody else outside of here. The people in this gym have the opportunity to determine whether we have a positive culture in JCPS or not. Thumbs up if you believe that to be true. Thank you. I believe it to be true. This room, right now, the people sitting in here determine whether we will be successful or not for 100,000 students. That's a crazy responsibility. An enormous responsibility. For those of you at your schools, if you are sitting in here as a school-based person, think right now how many students you have in your school. You are responsible for the culture of that school. Think of the impact of all the people you have there. I believe it. I know it. You have the power to determine the culture of your school. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to be turning cartwheels down the hallway, but you have the power to determine that. How many kids do you have in your school? That's how many you'll impact every day with a positive culture or a corresponding negative culture. That's a huge responsibility. Central office people, think about how many people are in your division. You have the power to determine whether that's a positive culture or a negative culture, based upon how you, not just what you say, but how you act every day. And how does that impact children? That's an incredible responsibility, folks. But what I do know from your thumbs being up is we've got it right here. This is all we need. If this is all we need, then I know we can do this. Not incremental change. I will be challenging everyone over months to come about the type of change that I want. I'm not concerned about little change. I took this crappy job to take a big swing at things. And soon enough, I'll be out of here. But in the meantime, I'm not interested in incremental change, small change. I'm interested in big, substantial change. And I know, go back again. I know that word right there determines whether we get this done or not. In this room, right now, nobody else. It's awesome. This is all we need. We can do this. And so now you can flip it. So, I want to be clear on what I mean and define when I say culture. And I've told some of you this over the past few weeks. People get confused about what culture is. And I want to be clear on it. It's my definition. Nobody else, but I guess I'm the one that's got this crappy job, so I can give the definition. So, a lot of people think when I say culture, that means adults being happy. Everybody's happy. You got to be happy. Happy is not what I'm searching for here from adults. It is not what I'm looking for. Happy is great. I'd love you to be happy. And I want you to be fulfilled. I do. But more importantly, it's challenged, it's supported. And the absolute most important thing is the definition of what I consider to be culture, which is the collective attitudes and beliefs of the adults in a school or a division, and how that impacts student learning. And I'll repeat that. The collective attitudes and beliefs of the adults in the building and how that impacts student learning. And there is an incredible phenomena that happens in schools or in central office. You've heard me say this, and I'm going to say it again. It's incredible to me how people's beliefs and attitudes spread throughout a division or a building. It's an incredible phenomenon. I've seen it both ways. Either the first can happen, which is the negative side of things. Somebody comes in, people come in, they're not happy, kids aren't acting right, I'm not being supportive, I'm tired of this. And that negative attitude is like a virus that spreads. It's like a virus. And I've seen great educators be infected with the virus of negativity at a school. I've seen it happen. And the detriment that has on students is immeasurable. It's an incredible detriment on students. Just that negative collective attitude, and it spreads like a virus. Maybe you've been there before. Maybe you're in that now. And all of a sudden, top-notch educators are infected with the virus. On the other hand, I've also seen this, where the educators in a building decide every single day, we're coming with energy and passion and fire, and we're not backing down. No matter what happened yesterday, I'm coming in positive because it's too important, the work that I do. Because I know when I walk in, there's a strong likelihood that there is a Marcus Stubbs out there who might need me to say something positive and impact their life. And there is no doubt that that type of attitude spreads as well. I told our principals this. Somehow, when our leaders decide that we will not be negative in any way, we will only be positive about the work that we do and the impact that we are having, you know what it does to that virus? It makes people do it in the dark spaces in the school. They do it in the dark corner of the school. It might be, let's come over here, I'm going to tell you what I'm upset about and complain about. Or it might be the happy hour spot on Friday afternoon. But they know that's not allowed in the light. It's not allowed in the light. Central office people, it's the same for you in your offices. Because that type of attitude spreads, and that virus can come out of your office and get to schools based on the attitude that you have. And so this collective attitudes and beliefs, it spreads, folks, either negatively or positively. And there is no way we will be successful with our systems and our pillars if we are allowing the virus to spread. This is what I'll ask you, thumbs up, or down. Do you believe that a collective, positive attitudes and beliefs that are at a school, that culture that is positive, has positive outcomes for student learning? Thumbs up or thumbs down. If we have a collective attitude and beliefs that are positive at a school, it impacts student learning. Thank you. Do you believe that if you have negative attitudes, collective attitudes and beliefs at a school, that there is that at a school, it has a negative impact on student learning? Thumbs up if you agree with that statement. Guys, if that's true, which I believe we all think it is, I do not know how we could possibly go to school one day as leaders and contribute to a negative culture at the school. I would consider that malpractice. And I've been tempted to do it myself. It's tough. It's tough. Everybody will be up on August 14th. It's a lot tougher when it's November 14th and February 14th. But I want to repeat that. I consider as leaders, if when we get to school, we have a negative attitude, we complain, our body language is I don't want to be here, we have negative interactions with kids because of the attitude that we bring, I consider that to be educational malpractice. Do you think that we have the people in this facility right now, 2,000 people here, that can collectively have a positive impact collectively, not just one, but collectively? Do you think we have the people in here that can make the difference in that culture at schools? Thumbs up or thumbs down? There is nothing more important than when we send the message at our schools that we will not tolerate that negative attitude or belief at school. Save it for after school, save it for your spouse, save it for your friends, whatever else. Do not bring that into this school, because we have 1,000 Marcus Stubbs walking in tomorrow, and we do not have the time for negativity because it spreads like a virus. And there is only one person who can decide whether you have that every day, and that's you. When you wake up every morning, that is you that decides that. And you know the great part about it? This is so simple for a positive culture and attitude. You only have to do it 175 times. That's it. You just 175 times and then you get another few months off. 175 times is all it takes. A great attitude and belief about what we're doing is going to make a difference. Or, which happens all too often, you can come in on August 14th, yay, it's going to be the greatest year ever, and then it fades off. And I'm just not talking about words, folks. I'm talking about what you do, the job that you do. The job that you do, the attitude you bring with it, your body language, your interaction with kids. It's the difference maker. And it's not just about my interaction with one kid. People are watching you, leaders. People watch you every day. And how you respond in all of what you do will determine that collective attitudes and beliefs. That is what culture is. And I'm going to tell you this. I've got an incredible ability. Not many of them, but this is one. The incredible ability I have is I can sense that within 5 minutes of a school visit. And I can sense it within 60 seconds of a central office visit. It's like a neon sign screaming when you walk into a school that has a positive culture with collective attitudes and beliefs. People are smiling. They're happy to be there. They're enthusiastic. Let me tell you about the great work of this school. Can't wait to show you around. And it's like a neon light beaming the other way too. Can't wait to get home. It's Monday. This is terrible. Or it's Friday. Thank God I get to be away from these people for a couple of days. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I like Fridays too. I'm not telling you not to like Fridays. Or we're counting down till 30 days until holiday break. Or I only have 2.5 years until I retire. Think about the message that is sending not only to kids, but to our staff. So I can't challenge you enough more that in 2019, 2020, the 2,000 people in this facility will be committed to always contributing to that positive culture at a school, because it's not just you. Are you spreading that positive virus, or are you spreading that negative virus by what you bring? Only you can reflect on that, but I can't tell you how important that is. So, another one, moving on. I talk about this word a lot, and it goes back to that collective attitudes and beliefs. But I don't think there's anything more important than coming with passion and fire with everything you do. And you have a couple choices every single day. You decide, I'm going to change lives, I'm doing this for the right reason, I'm coming in enthusiastic, passionate about what I'm going to do. Or on the other hand, I'm just tired and I'll go through the motions. I'll do what I have to do. I'll show up and do my time. But that is not passion and fire that changes lives. Without passion, we don't have Marcus Stubbs. Without passion from educators, we don't have Steve Pemberton. And I know this. Our kids need us more than ever before. They need us more than they ever have at any time in my 25 years in this district. I think about the events over the weekend. I think about the terrible news over the weekend, and my goal here is not to get into anything political whatsoever. But I think about the events over the weekend and what our students face and the challenges that we have in the world that exists now. And I'll say it again, I don't think kids have changed. I think our world has changed. But they need us more than ever. And the only thing we can do to make sure, I can't even imagine giving up that day that you have a chance to make a difference. You have a chance to impact a kid like Marcus. And if you don't come with passion, we're passing up that opportunity. We are passing it up and giving it away. Now think about this. I've been fortunate, I told some of the groups this as well. One of the things this job is I've been fortunate to have are people that come up to me, and because unfortunately I'm recognizable, they'll come up to me and tap me on the shoulder, and they will say, "You probably don't remember me," or a parent will say, "You probably don't remember my child, but let me tell you what you did to impact their life." I had it just 3 or 4 weeks ago. You met with my child and me, and she was struggling, and you were so kind about it, and you listened and you helped, and now she's graduated college and moved on, and she's successful. So I don't know who knows if that was the difference maker, but the parent thought it was. And I'm sure those of you that are veterans in your career have had kids coming up to you and saying, "I remember when you said this." And if you're like me at this point, sometimes I don't even remember what school I had them at. It all comes together all the years. And I'm trying to think, are you 20 or are you 35? Like I can't even place you. But clearly they remember me. And what that says to me is every interaction I have with a child is meaningful. And I'm proud of those times. That's the best news I get, is when someone says, "You did this and it made a difference in my child's life." But you know what the scary part of that is? How many times in 24 years did I have that opportunity and I didn't take it? How many times in 24 years was I grumpy? How many times did another kid say something to me that caused me to go off, and then there was another kid right there? How many times did a kid need me to come up and wrap my arms around him like the staff from Wagner did for Marcus, and I failed to do it? That's the scary part about it. It really is. And it makes me think, have I passed up opportunities to impact children's lives because I didn't come with passion? I let another incident I let another adult. I let behavior of other kids. I let the fact that I was tired and didn't sleep last night. I let the fact that I only got 4 days until the next break, and I just want to get through it. How many times did that negatively impact kids' lives? It's a scary thought. It's an incredible responsibility. It's an honor, but it's an incredible responsibility. And not many professions have that opportunity to do that. But you do every day. And more importantly, as leaders, you have the opportunity to spread that to other people. And so not only do you show up every day, but you show up with passion. And it made me think of a story I saw in a movie one time, and I read about it and how important it is. Showing up every day. And I was reading about, and I know I don't look like a guy who would quote Bob Marley, but I heard a story of Bob Marley, who was in terrible political times in Jamaica and had become the hero of the people, this underground movement that spread this message of, rebellion against the government, but also love and peace and music and all of these things. And there was starting to build we're concerned about this guy. He's about to put on a free concert in Jamaica where everyone's going to come, and it might turn the tables on our government right now. And 2 days before the concert started, gunmen showed up at his house and shot him 3 times. 2 days before. Take him to the hospital. They're planning on canceling the concert. We can't do this. But he said, nope, we're having it. I'm going out and I'm having the concert. And one of my favorite quotes that I think is so important, when they asked him, why are you still having this show? And he said, the people who are trying to make this world worse are not taking the day off. Why should I? The people who are trying to make this world worse are not taking the day off. Why should I? And so that's the question I will ask you. The forces that are working against our kids right now, poverty, trauma, drugs, mental health, we could go on and on. The forces that are working against our kids are not taking the day off. We cannot take the day off either. We only have them for 175 times. We cannot take the day off either. I can't tell you how important that is. That not only do you show up, because administrators, when you don't show up physically, no one's there in your spot. No one's there. And we're passing up on that opportunity. I'm not saying we have to be the #1 district in the state in test scores. But I believe winning is significantly changing outcomes for our students. I believe winning is we authentically implement the backpack, where we have transformed instruction, where kids have deeper learning experiences in classes on a regular basis, not just when you send an email out, on a regular basis. Kids have so many artifacts in their backpack, they struggle to pick the ones that are the most meaningful. They're asking teachers, I don't know what to do in my defense, help me out. Winning is we become a national model on making sure kids are on the right step and providing supports for them along the way. Winning is reducing and eliminating the achievement gap and disproportionality and doing work like no other district in America. That's winning. Winning is building new schools, being proud of our facilities. Winning is our leaders coming to work every day, passionate and enthusiastic. And so I believe we're going to win. I believe next year, when our audit comes, 14 months from now, that we will have incredibly positive results and say what change has happened in 2 or 3 years. I believe that. If you don't believe it, there's no way we'll be successful. There's no way you're all in. So my question to you, do you believe that we will win?
I believe that we will win. I believe that we
All right, you're right on top of it. Hold on. Now you got it. You got it. So, thumbs up if you believe we will win. Thumbs up if you believe we will win. You got to be honest about it. Now I'm going to make you prove it to us, and this is how we're going to finish. It's time for the uncomfortable moment that you've all been waiting for. Do you believe that we will win? I got some friends with me. Come on out. Come on out. All right, now hold on. If you don't know what we're talking about here, they're in all like major student sections, including the dog pound at Mail. It like started at Duke and is all over the country. They do this cheer at the start of the game where someone yells "I" and then the crowd yells "I" back. And then they say "I believe" and the crowd yells "I believe." And then they say "I believe we." And they go through the whole thing to "I believe we will win." And then at the end they are all jumping up and down, pumping their fists, chanting "I believe we will win." They do. I told you elementary people love this, don't you? All right, so Mail does it, and I asked to bring a few of their band members who they were practicing last week. I went out and asked them to do it. We're going to do one practice time, and then we're going to do one for real. So I got to have everybody standing up. Everybody. It's got to be loud, too. All right, now they're good. You got to follow. When they yell something, you got to yell it back at them, and at the end, blow the roof off this place. All right, Mail, you're up. Let's go.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
Hold up. We got more coming out for the real one. All right, so that was a good start. But the end went a little flat. Like we need the end being the loudest part of it. If you've ever seen a facility, a game where the entire, now I'm not going to ask you to jump, I don't want any injuries. But you've got to at least pump your fist and really get into it at the end. All right, let's try it for real.
I believe that. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
All right, hold up. We got them all. Come on. We got them all. We're going to do it one last time. We got the whole pep band here. Seriously now, we're going to raise the roof on this one. I want whoever's working at Highland Middle School right now to hear this and wonder what the administrators are doing in Knights Hall. One last time to show that you are ready for 1920. Let's do it.
I believe that. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
All right. Good job. Good job, guys. All right. All right. Great job. That went off better than I thought. Thank you to the pep band in Mayo High School. Great job, guys. Have a great year. You're going.